Welcome to Florida in April, where it is peak spring. Most of the country is still thawing out and getting their gardens going, but we are in the thick of it with soaring temperatures and dry conditions. This intense heat will quickly kill most of our veggies we're familiar with, things like broccoli and lettuce and tomatoes. So what's the key to growing in these tropical conditions? Choosing the right crop. We're going to be going over 7 different varieties of crops that can easily take these temperatures. And if I'm guessing correctly, you've probably never heard of the last crop I'm going to share. Let's stick around and find out if I'm right. Our last crop is rather tricky, but the first one I am quite confident you have heard of before. But you may be a little misguided or confused onto how it is grown. Most people think this protein source is grown on trees, like most nuts, when in fact, it's actually a legume or bean and grows in the ground like many of our other traditional veggie crops. Now, you may have figured out I am talking about peanuts. Peanuts are a fantastic crop here for Florida in April. And while some of us may be more familiar with it as peanut butter, I personally like it as boiled peanuts. I am from the South. I'm a native Floridian. I just can't help myself when I pass a good boiled peanut stand. And fun fact, did you know that the Aztecs are credited with the original peanut butter? They used to take peanuts and mash it into a paste. Regardless of how you like to eat it, this crop is incredibly easy to grow. And I would recommend not planting it in a container or a raised bed. Because it's a legume, a bean, it can make its own nitrogen and it handles our sandy soil perfectly fine. So unless you have to grow in a container or a raised bed, I highly recommend planting this into a food forest setting, edible landscaping, or just in a sandy patch of grass in the lawn. I run against the grain when it comes to weeds. Now, I am just like you. I don't want grass growing up through my raised bed gardens or anything like that. But as far as weedy vegetables, I am all for it. Now, most of these crops are things that farmers or gardeners may think are bad, but if they're edible and they serve some sort of function in the landscape, why wouldn't you want something that can grow itself? Less work for you. Now, in this case, I am specifically talking about the not-so-weed Lagos spinach. It's in the Celosia family or coxcomb family. It is a flower that a lot of people will use in cut floral bouquets, but it is also edible leaves. They're really good in salads. They're very tender and flavorful. I freely use them throughout the summer months whenever I'm looking for a nice salad. And it has the added benefit of attracting all sorts of beneficial insects and parasitic wasps. This crop will easily grow itself in containers, in ground in our sandy soil, or in raised beds. So sprinkle the seeds around, and once you plant them once, you'll never have to do it again. This crop that I'm about to share with you now is something, to be quite honest, I haven't mentioned much on the channel because I can't keep the seed in stock. This is one that I do grow out here on my homestead because you can't really source it or find it anywhere else. And that is the amazing and fantastic Puerto Rican black bean. Now, I have no idea if it's actually from Puerto Rico. That is what the gardener friend of mine shared when she gave me the seed, and I have been growing it out ever since. This is a black bean like you are very, very familiar with. You already know how to use it, cook it, eat it, all that good stuff. But it is a weak perennial, which means it can grow for an extended period of time. I planted this last spring. It bloomed and produced for me all winter long here in South Florida and is set to put out more blooms and continue producing for me heading into the spring months. That is truly exceptional for here in Florida. Now this bean can grow in shade or sun, it can sprawl on the ground, it can climb up a vine or a trellis or a tree. Whatever you've got, it will take those growing conditions. If you're interested in getting some of this amazing seed, you'll have to head to my seed shop. I'll have a link in the show notes, and if it's out of stock, there is a waitlist button so that you're notified as soon as I get more in. Pro tip, over the years I have found a trick to figuring out new varieties of vegetables to try. Whenever you find a country or a region in the world that has a vegetable that grew well for you, start researching what else they use in their cooking and what other foods they typically grow or consume. Because if one crop did well, it's quite likely that something else that they grow will do well for you. And that is how I found this crop that I'm sharing with you, and that is epazote. Now, epazote may sound weird, something you've never heard of, but you do eat beans more than likely. And this crop is an herb that Central and South America grows to help with digestion of beans. Every time they cook their beans, typically a handful of epazote goes into the pot too. If you've ever heard of seaweed used in Japan and Southeast Asia to help break down beans, this is Central and South America's version of the same thing. It's a very easy to grow herb. It thrives in our spring and summer months and is wonderful when you are planting anything like beans or the Puerto Rican black beans that I just shared with you. This next crop is one that if you're starting to dive into the more unique heirloom world, you've probably heard of mentioned as for a summer leafy green here in Florida. It is one that I personally don't use very often in my meals because it does have a little bit of a mucilaginous vibe to it, but I still plant it every single year because it's just so easy and it's beautiful, and if I run out of other greens, it's there as a backup. And that variety is Malabar spinach. Now, Malabar spinach does have a pretty red-vined variety as well as a green vine. I usually like to plant the red just for a nice pop of color in the garden. But this is something that I planted once, and just like our celosia and Lagos spinach, it regrows itself every year. I also had an artist friend who does amazing artwork using plant pigments, and she collects and harvests the berries to make a beautiful color. So regardless of whether you're looking for food, beauty, or utilitarian purposes, this crop might be a good fit for your spring and summer garden. All right, so we're almost to the end of our series, and the last crop I'm almost betting you don't know about. This one you might not know either. It's very commonly used in Central America and the Caribbean, and I absolutely love how fresh and tasty it is. But it is one that you might not be as familiar with cooking, and that is jicama. Now, jicama is actually a root crop. This is the vine, and it has beautiful purple flowers, almost like hyacinth flowers, like purple droopy flowers, absolutely gorgeous in the garden. But beware, the leaves, the flowers, and even the bean pods are toxic. The only part on this plant that we eat is the root, and let me tell you, it is delicious. It does not need any special preparation like cassava or yucca does, so it's not like a dice roll or any sort of uncertainty as far as eating this. Typically it's eaten fresh, although you can cook it as well. It's delicious in a mango salsa or a variety of coleslaw type uses. You can also slice it and use it to dip into hummus, just like you would a carrot. Very tasty, very refreshing, and incredibly easy to grow. Drum roll, the final crop. Do you know it or do you not? This is something that is truly bizarre, and I initially grew just for sheer novelty. But once I finally grew it, I fell in love with it. Is it a bean? Is it a squash? Is it a cucumber? No, it's actually an edible gourd. We are talking about Chinese python snake bean. And it was a tremendous surprise to grow it and have my 4-year-old daughter pick it and have it be almost as long as her. Now they are called snake beans because they can wind and vine all around and almost look like a snake peeking through the vines. But the flavor is really quite surprising. I was pleasantly surprised. It cooks kind of like squash, but has a better flavor. I'm not a huge yellow squash fan. It holds its shape better and it's a very mild taste. I really enjoy cooking it. I do have several recipes that use it in my Rooted in Sunshine Florida Heirloom Cookbook. If you're interested in that, I'll have a link down in the show notes. But truly, the flowers took me by surprise. So intricate, beautiful, fragrant. The vine itself is beautiful. So between the edibility, the novelty of it, and the beauty, this is an absolute no-brainer. Now, if you're looking for more swaps like this for something that is rather difficult to grow here with an alternative that grows much easier, this next video is going to share 9 other crops for those easy peasy swap outs.